Hi, I'm Kim, CEO and co-founder of Listener Brands, which owns CurlMix and 4C Only. And today, I'm gonna give you 20 reasons or signs that you need to rebrand your business. This is gonna be super helpful for the entrepreneur who is just starting out, who's doing everything themselves, who can't afford to hire agencies, can't afford to hire all the best people to do the design, do the website, do the things, and you gotta figure it out yourself on Shopify. This video is for you. But before I get started, go ahead and click that button below and click subscribe so you can get the notification for our next video. And I'm gonna give you 12 stages of rebranding after I tell you why you need to rebrand or signs that you might need to rebrand. So make sure you tune in for the next video. All right, let's get started. Who knows what branding is? Raise your hand. Initially, I didn't. Initially, I was just doing everything myself and oh, we need a label for this, I can make that. We need a brochure for this, I can make that. We need a logo for this, I can make that. Until I realized that everything didn't really match up. And I really didn't even know until I hired a coach. And my coach was basically like, you don't know what branding is. You guys have different things everywhere. And I'm gonna teach you a lifelong skill that you can then apply to future brands that you build. And so that coach helped me understand what I was doing wrong. So I'm gonna help you guys. Branding is not just colors and logos and fonts. Branding is a vibe. Branding is your company personified. Someone can look at a picture with no text, no words, and know that it's your brand. Think of iconic brands that you know. Apple, Disney, Netflix. Netflix has a sound. That sound when you get ready to watch a Netflix video. That's branding. It's the feeling you get when you get ready to Netflix and chill. Apple, they have a brand. You know, if you look at that little apple with the bitten off apple or whatever, that's their symbol. That's part of their brand. But the brand is the vibe. It is, if I looked at a picture with no words, no text, I would know what brand I'm looking at or what company I'm looking at. So that's the goal. How do you communicate that to your customer? And I'm gonna show you 20 signs that you might need to rebrand if you cannot personify your brand, okay? The first sign that you need to rebrand is that if your customers cannot tell you very clearly what they are using for your products. I'll give you an example. CurlMix, we have 5 different kits, and it currently says like pure flaxseed gel. And pure is bigger than our actual logo, and our logo is actually on the bottom. And then most people don't realize that they're buying it because of the oil that's in it, not because of the fragrance. And so all this confusion, right? I'll ask the customer, what do you use? And they're like, oh, the purple one. Like, that is bad branding. So you might need to rebrand your packaging if your customer cannot clearly tell you what they're using from your lineup. The second sign that you need to rebrand is if your customers cannot clearly tell you your offer back to you in very few words. For example, we help women master their curls in 21 days. Our product is free via store credit. If you had asked me this 2-3 years ago, my offer would have been, we help you get the best wash and go ever. If you had asked me that 2 or 3 years before that, it would have been, we are the DIY box for curly hair. We have evolved in our messaging as we figured out who our customer is and what she wants. But some people, you may be watching this on the other side of the camera, and you think we provide convenience, you know, that's your offer. If that's your offer, 1, that's not a good offer. But 2, if that's your offer and your customer cannot say it back to you, then they don't know what you're really offering. So you're not communicating it enough. So you need that offer kind of written everywhere on your site, on the home page, on your Instagram bio, on your Facebook page, on your documents and your collateral at the office, on your subject, the tagline underneath your logo on your emails. That is where that offer would go. But if your customer cannot repeat that back to you, then you haven't done a good job of making sure that they know that that's your offer. So that's another sign that you might need to rebrand. The third sign that you might need to rebrand is if your offer is not actually unique in your marketplace. So I'll give you an example. If you have a natural hair care brand and you are telling people we're better because we're natural and organic, I'm sorry, but that's not enough. That's not a compelling offer in today's market. You might need to reconsider your messaging. Maybe you help people get the best color, you know, in 30 days. Maybe you help people learn how to braid and twist their own hair in just 1 hour. Who knows? But like that, it needs to be compelling and it needs to be differentiated. It can't be, we help you master your curls in 21 days because CurlMix is doing it. So really think about what's gonna set you apart in the marketplace. The fourth sign that you might need to rebrand is inconsistent use of fonts throughout your business. It sounds really tedious and really silly, But if you think about it, iconic fonts exist. Think about Lush. It's one of my favorite examples. When you go into their store, that big paintbrush font is all over their store. It's on their packaging for every bottle. It's the same font that's on their website, the same font in their emails, the same font on a billboard that they might do, right? Now, think about how you might be using your fonts as a business owner or brand owner. You might have a different font in Canva because it's a default font. You might be using the default font in Shopify. That's free, right? You might be using a different font in Klaviyo because Klaviyo has a free basic font. And then when you match up all your graphics from your website to your email, to your SMS, to your inside of your store or to your like direct mail campaigns, they don't match, which means your customer doesn't instinctively know who you are based on just the text that you're using. So you need to be consistent with that as well. It may not be a whole reason to rebrand, but it is a sign that you might need to, or that you were never properly branded in the first place. The next sign that you might need to rebrand is inconsistent symbols used across your business. I'll give you an example. Some people have the cruelty-free sign on their website, like, oh, we're cruelty-free, but it's not on their bottles. It's not on their landing page. It's not on their emails. They may have a different font or a different style of symbol in each one. That's bad too. You really want to be consistent. People need to be able to see, oh, this is the Twitter symbol, you know, here, here, and here, and here. Imagine that little birdie was different on every platform or everything that you saw. We could do thousands of different birds, but to know that it's Twitter, you have to see that little blue bird on every piece of marketing. Super important. So make sure your symbols are consistent. The sixth sign that you might need to rebrand is if your actual offer, let's say, okay, I got my name right for my brand. I have consistent fonts. I'm saying that I'm natural and organic. It is everywhere, right? Which one, you need a better offer than natural and organic. But two, that offer needs to actually be on the packaging. A lot of times we think, oh, well, they're buying online. They're not going to actually see it. People hand products off to friends all the time. You want people to be able to, they say it takes 7 touch points for someone to remember the thing that they saw or before you actually buy. Like, they might need to see that offer 7 different times. When they first come across your ad on Facebook, they might need to see the offer on your Instagram bio when they go check out this is a real company. Then they go find the CEO's Instagram account to see if that's a real, like, if it's not a scam or if they're an ethical person. Then they join your mailing list on your website. They need to see the offer there and there. And then when you text them, you need to remind them of the offer so that by the time that they actually get ready to purchase, they know why they're buying because they know what you offer. But if you have not figured out that offer piece and made sure it's painfully aware everywhere, that might be a sign that you need to rebrand. The next sign that you might need to rebrand is that people are using your product for some reason other than the reason you actually designed the product for use. I'll give you an example. Hydrocortisone. A lot of people use hydrocortisone for the babies when they have, eczema or rashes or diaper rashes or whatever. Or you might use it if you have a pain somewhere on your body. But what it also works for is eye cream. So one time, I'll tell you a little story. One time I was at the grocery store and I was like, I see all these YouTube videos with these like $7 makeup routines, some drugstore beauty makeup. I was like, all right, fine. I'm going to get me some eyeliner. I need to pick some up. I'll go ahead and buy some. Baby, I wore that eyeliner once and it messed up my eyelashes. It messed up my lids. I had like dark eczema all over my eyeballs and they were swollen and puffy for like almost a month. And I could not figure out how to fix them. I started using gentle face creams. I started using things with no fragrances, all the things. And then I looked it up that hydrocortisone actually works for your eyelids as well. And I was like, dang, if I had known that, if it was like a beauty healer or whatever, or a face cream or something, I would have tried that a long time ago. Used it in a couple of days, cleared it right up. And I was like, dang, that's a missed opportunity on hydrocortisone's part. You could be branding this as an eye cream or an inflammatory cream or whatever for beauty, but it wasn't. So that might be a sign that you need to rebrand. If people are using your product for another reason than what you actually designed it for. That's how we figured out that we needed to focus on the wash and go instead of just natural hair in general. We designed our DIY boxes early, just for you to do whatever style you wanted. And then I found out that people were using our flaxseed gel to do wash and goes. And then I pivoted my messaging to meet my customer based on what they wanted, right? You gotta know how your customer is actually using your product. The 8th sign that you might need to rebrand is that people don't know what color matches your brand. You need to use a consistent color throughout all of your marketing. For myself, we were not doing this. We had 5 kits. One was purple, one was kind of green, not really the teal that our actual logo was. The other one was yellow, the other one was blue, and people didn't really know what color was associated with CurlMix. And then the Tiffany blue box didn't quite match the logo color on the website. But I was more of a digital marketer and more of a get her done. Or B+ is good enough. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. And that worked for me for a very long while. But if I really wanted to elevate us, if I really wanted to be top of mind in my customer's mind, I had to be more consistent in my messaging. Think about the friend of yours who's different in every room they're in, right? That's the person you don't trust. If you see that person show up differently at the cocktail party, differently when you're on a date night with you, different than how they talk to their mom, different than how they are with the other friends, that's probably not a friend you want to be the closest to. The friend that you want is the friend that shows up the exact same way all the time. Now, I'm not saying your friends can't be different, things like that, but you want someone you can trust. That's essentially what I'm getting at. And a consistent color allows someone to trust you because they know how you're going to show up every time that you show up. And so our inconsistent use of colors also let me know we need to own a color as a brand. And so you'll see for the rebrand, we leaned into variations of teal, but still in the teal family. So you won't see us use things like black. You won't see us use things like brown or purple or pink or whatever. Like, those are not, they're more masculine colors, but also the pinks, those are not with our brand. We are going to focus on the teal color and the gradient within it. So make sure you stay consistent with the color. The 9th reason you need to rebrand is that your imagery is inconsistent across all the platforms. Let's give an example. You might have a car washing business, and what I'm expecting to see are those TikToks where I'm watching people clean their cars, detail them with a toothbrush or with like special cleaning agents, and they are, using this like Asmere sound so that you can like hear it really closely. And like, that's what I'm expecting to see across your TikTok, your Facebook, all of these different places, right? Maybe it's a different version of that for each platform, but it's still cleaning cars. But if you're posting things like motorcycles, or you're posting home furniture, or you're posting groceries, or this or that, like, that's really, really inconsistent. You want to make sure that you have the same brand voice, the same brand image on every page. You know your girlfriend who always shows up to a party looking fly? It doesn't matter if she's going to sleep in her pajamas, if she is stepping out at a cocktail party, if she's stepping out at a ball, a gala, a work event, you know she's going to be fly, right? Consistent branding with imagery. What she's not going to do is show up with her bonnet or her hair wrapped, or she's not going to have makeup on. She's going to always be done up. So think about that when you're thinking about your brand and how your imagery looks. You don't want, if your brand services young people, you don't want people of all different ages on your entire website, because that's not who you serve. Who you serve is somebody in their 20-something or below 20. If you serve moms, you don't want to put dads everywhere, because that's not who's actually buying your product. You really want your imagery to reflect your customer and be consistent across your platforms. The 10th sign you might need to rebrand is if you actually don't have the same brand voice on every platform. A good example of a brand that has a really good brand voice, and we love to hate them, is Fashion Nova. They send ratchet text messages all the time, but I think it really speaks to their audience. They do it in a way that's memorable. I remember, I'll never forget this text message they sent. It was right around Christmas, and I think it was right around the time she was released. But it was like Britney. It was like, it's free, like Britney B. And that was the text message. Yeah, it's free, like Britney B. And then it was like 50% off or something, buy one, get one free or whatever. But it was like, yeah, that's Fashion Nova's brand voice. I could never use that because that's not my brand or my customer. That would have greatly offended her. But for someone who is a teeny bopper or early 20s or whatever, or who likes to be saucy and on the nose like that, that works for them. So it's a strong brand voice, and they have to be consistent with that. So Fashion Nova is always like a little ratchet, but that is the brand voice. What is your brand's voice? My brand's voice is the girl next door. We are a family brand. My customer is over 50, and I don't ever want to offend her with, fun language like that. So you need a brand voice, and look at some of the iconic brands that are doing it, and try to figure out which one could either match yours or hire a copywriter and create an entirely new one that knows your customer, a copywriter who maybe looks like your customer or would use your product. Think of that. The next reason to rebrand is that your product is dated and no longer relevant in the marketplace. A great example of that, Facebook. Facebook recently changed its name from Facebook to Meta because they want to be representative of what they're going to be in the future versus what they are. Facebook started, I don't know, what, 10 plus years ago, and they were like the cool new social media network on the block, right? The cool new kid on the block. They're not that anymore. That's TikTok, that's other things. And so they've had to acquire other brands like Instagram or acquire apps like WhatsApp and try to remain relevant. But Facebook's audience is relatively more mature, and usually the up and coming platform has the youngest audience, which would be TikTok in this case. So Facebook is like, you know what, instead of trying to just be TikTok, we're gonna go take a few steps further in the future. And who are we going to be in 10, 20 years? And that's gonna be a very digital, virtual reality type platform. And so that's what they changed their name to Meta. So even Facebook, multi-billion-dollar, maybe even trillion-dollar company, I don't know, can rebrand. So don't feel like you've gotten too far and we already invested so much, and it's a lot of work to rebrand. Sometimes it can take years. It took us years, and it can take lots and lots of money. But we'll get to that later. Make sure you tune in to the 12 stages. All right, so let's get back to it. The next sign you might need to rebrand is if your packaging is not properly highlighting your actual brand name. If you look at a CurlMix bottle, it currently says like pure avocado moisturizer in big letters. And then CurlMix is like this itty bitty tiny little logo at the bottom by the ounces. So this is Kim 2015, not knowing anything about design, you know, and restructure my packaging that way. And then I learned maybe 4 or 5 years later that that was wrong and we needed to redesign, and that your brand name should be really big at the top. So if people can't tell you the rest of what they use, oh, I use the heavy moisturizer with such and such, they can at least tell you I use CurlMix. Right now, if you didn't know our brand, you might look at it and think it was called Pure. So that's another sign you might need to rebrand. Another reason you might need to rebrand is if your name is too similar to a competitor's in your industry. And when you are searching it, Google doesn't actually know your brand name because you're so new and so young, and instead it's recommending someone else's brand name. You want to make sure that your name is unique in your industry and it is not reflective of someone else's. That was not a lesson I learned early on, and we had a hard time getting SEO because there were so many curl brands out in the industry. It was like, which one is CurlMix, and do you really mean CurlMix and not something else? That's not our issue anymore. Luckily, we withstood that, but I have considered changing my name in the past just because it can get mixed up with other brand names. Another reason to rebrand is if you begin selling things that are outside of the scope of what your name can accommodate. I'll give you an example. Honest Company was named very well in that it's honest ingredients no matter what you're selling. They can sell diapers, they can sell soap, they can sell makeup, mascara, they can sell hair products, all because, you know, it's the Honest Company. And one of the things I made a mistake with CurlMix, I was like, well, we started launching face products and body products and lip gloss and all the things. And we're like, do people really want to put CurlMix on their lips? You know? And so it became a question of, do I change the name? Do I keep the name and change the product offerings? What do I want to be? And a lot of what the work that goes behind branding is actually figuring out what you're going to be in the next 5 to 10 years. And most entrepreneurs don't do that. Most entrepreneurs are comfortable going up the staircase with only seeing the first step. And to do really good branding, you have to think about the next 20 steps past the first one, which also means coming up with a name that can grow with your brand that you don't have to change. Another reason to rebrand is maybe you had a bad press event. I'll give you an example. There were these guys who were selling these t-shirts to these HBCU students, and they were bragging about how much they made, and which is cool. No one's shaming anyone for that. But I think they were super delayed on the orders. And on one hand, you're bragging about how much money you made, but on the other hand, you know, maybe you're not fulfilling the promise of the customers as much as you would like. That might be an instance in where you might want to change the name of your company after that because you have negative press associated with the brand. For celebrities, that's a little different. For them, it's like no press is bad press. But for businesses, you can definitely have bad press. And you might want to change your name to not be associated with that. So that's another reason you might want to consider changing the brand. Another sign that you might need to rebrand is if all of your customers are saying they are offended by your marketing. Now, in some situations, it's like, okay, your customers could be wrong. But in other ones, they usually aren't. But I'll give you a situation in which they could be wrong. Ben & Jerry's, right? Ben & Jerry's they are the social justice warriors of really food and beverage, right? They sell ice cream, but like if you think about a brand that cares about the political issues in our country or the problems in our country, It would be Ben & Jerry's. They may have some people who are angry about what they're doing, but their main customer, which is someone who's more liberal, someone who is considerate of others, then they don't have a problem with that. So that's an instance in which you wouldn't change your brand because people are offended, right? As long as the right people that you want to target are not offended, then you're good. But let's say, for example, I'm a Ben & Jerry's customer, right? Let's say, for example, their marketing was offending me, over and over and over again, and they wanted to serve me. Then that might be a time for Ben & Jerry's to actually rebrand. So another sign. If you're actually offending your target audience, you might want to rebrand your brand. And my last reason for rebranding is that if you never actually properly brand it in the first place. What does it mean to properly brand? That means typically you hire an agency who knows design, who knows how to brand, all the branding elements, the symbols, the fonts, the colors, the voice. These are not just fluffy words that I'm saying. They actually have a tangible and tactical strategy and documentation behind the brand voice. Here are the words we use, here are the words we don't use. We don't call our customers CurlMix customers. We call them CurlMixers. That is something that will be decided in the brand voice. The brand offer. That's something I read a book to figure out and get to and test over and over and over. But that wasn't decided in the brand voice. That wasn't decided by someone else. It's a totally separate process that took really weeks to figure out. The brand symbols. That's a few iterations of designs with the designer. The brand guide. There's a whole book for how to use the logo and how not to use the logo. There's so many elements of branding that I was not privy to starting my business. So I'm hoping that this video will help you in your process, and let me know down below if you're currently doing some of those things wrong that you need to fix. Don't feel bad about it. It happens to everyone. Even Facebook has to rebrand. So don't get beside yourself if you have to rebrand. It's okay. It happens, and you'll be better for it. Thanks for watching. Make sure to go ahead and subscribe to the video, and I'll see you guys next time.